bought my stepdaughter a new iPhone for her birthday, and she called it the bare minimum. When I asked why she thought that was okay, she laughed and said, "You're not even my real dad. You don't get points for gifts." I stayed silent. That was 2 months ago. This morning, she left a plate of breakfast outside my door and walked away. My spoiled stepdaughter sold the family treasure without telling me, so I sold her birthday gift and made her cry. Even though my wife and I have a mostly great marriage, there's one thing we have never agreed on, and that's my stepdaughter Lacey. I have tried connecting with her and getting closer to her, but this has never worked though, because Lacey's mother has raised her in such a spoiled way that Lacey is now a bratty teenager who wants everything her way and won't take no for an answer. She has been suspended from school for bullying a much poorer kid in her class previously. When I pressed her about it and tried to explain how wrong it was to verbally ridicule him in front of the whole class, she literally refused to accept that she was in the wrong. Her mother then stepped in defending her, telling me, "You're not her dad, don't act like it." She then proceeded to take Lacey upstairs and they had a talk, but I'm not sure about what. All I know is Lacey is yet to admit that she was in the wrong. This is just one example of her entitlement. She is now 16 years old and seems to get more spoiled every year. I have tried carefully broaching this subject with her mother, but I seem to get shot down every time. This behavior has definitely strained my relationship with Lacey. Well, my relationship with her, which was already not as good as it could be, went completely south last week. So last week was her birthday, and her mother and I got her the latest iPhone like she wanted. She barely glanced at it, muttering something about how I never really understood what she won. Despite funding the expensive gift, I found myself excluded from the celebration. That evening brought an unexpected confrontation when they returned home. My wife initiated a serious discussion about finances, specifically demanding I double Lacey's weekly allowance from $75 to $150. When I suggested she earn the increase through household contributions, Lacey flatly refused, insisting her age alone warranted more money. Her mother defended this stance, accusing me of not caring about our daughter. The conversation escalated when Lacey dismissed my birthday gift as merely obligatory, prompting me to share how my impoverished parents provided only basic necessities. Her callous response about my parents needing to have worked harder ignited my fury. I retreated upstairs before saying something regrettable, though I did shout my refusal regarding the allowance increase. The household atmosphere remained frigid for days afterward, with minimal communication between us. This morning, seeking solitude at the newly opened Christmas markets, I searched for my cherished winter jacket, a 5-generation family heirloom crafted from premium fur and leather, valued around $1,000, but irreplaceable to me. My wife's evasive responses aroused suspicion, and under pressure, she confessed that Lacey had vindictively sold my father's jacket online following our allowance dispute. Rage consumed me, but I maintained composure. While Lacey slept, I quietly retrieved her birthday phone and departed for the markets as planned. At a pawn shop, I exchanged the device for just over $500, significantly less than its cost, but sufficient for my purposes. I indulged in an extravagant day. Market purchases, fine dining at a Michelin-starred establishment, and spa treatments, deliberately spending every penny except $11. Throughout my outing, I ignored their frantic calls and messages about the missing phone, promising explanations upon my return. When I arrived home, both confronted me with demands for the device's return. The shock on Lacey's face when I revealed I'd pawned it was absolutely ands for the device's return. The shock on Lacey's face when I revealed I'd pawned it was absolutely beyond words, truly priceless. I told them both that this is what they get for selling something priceless to me behind my back. Lacey kept yelling at me that it was just a stupid jacket. I reminded Lacey that things can hold more value to them than their price tag, and she got even more mad. Then I told her that I will also be taking the money she got for selling my jacket and keeping it to myself. She started to cry when I said that and ran upstairs. By this point, her mother was quiet and was sitting at the kitchen table. After Lacey bolted up in tears, I sat down with my wife, and we had a long and painful talk. She admitted that what Lacey did was wrong, and she admitted that she spent years parenting her the wrong way. I asked her what she wanted to do, and she said we must have a serious talk with Lacey, and I agreed. Lacey has been upstairs the whole evening, and my wife and I plan to talk to her tomorrow. The next morning arrived faster than I expected. I barely slept, tossing and turning while replaying yesterday's events. My wife stirred beside me around 7, her hand finding mine under the covers. We both knew what today meant. I made coffee while Diana prepared breakfast. Neither of us spoke much, just moved around the kitchen and practiced synchronization. The eggs sizzled in the pan as I buttered toast. Normal morning sounds that felt anything but normal. Lacey's door remained closed upstairs. No music blaring, no stomping around, no demands for rides to her friend's house. The silence felt heavy. Diana set 3 plates on the table. Should we call her down? I shook my head. Let her come when she's ready. We ate in silence, forks scraping against ceramic. Diana pushed scrambled eggs around her plate without really eating. I forced down half a piece of toast before giving up. 20 minutes passed. 30. Diana kept glancing at the stairs. Finally, footsteps. Slow, reluctant ones. Lacey appeared in the doorway, eyes puffy and red. She'd clearly been crying most of the night. Her usual perfectly styled hair hung limp around her face. She slumped into her chair without a word. Diana pushed the 3rd plate toward her. Lacey stared at it like it might bite her. "We need to talk," I said. Lacey's jaw tightened. "About what? How you stole my phone?" "About everything." Diana's voice stayed calm but firm. "About the jacket, about your behavior, about how we got here." Lacey crossed her arms. "I don't want to talk." Too bad. The words came out harsher than I intended. I took a breath, tried again. "Lacey, do you understand what that jacket meant to me?" She shrugged. "It was old. It was my father's, and his father's before him." I kept my voice steady. "One of the only things I have left from my family." "So? You can buy another jacket?" Diana winced. "Lacey, that's not the point." "Then what is the point?" Lacey's voice cracked. "That I'm a terrible person? That I don't deserve anything?" Message received. I leaned forward. "The point is that you took something irreplaceable from me because you didn't get your way. You sold a family heirloom for spite. You said no to my allowance because you wouldn't earn it. I shouldn't have to." The words exploded out of her. "None of my friends have to do chores for their allowance." Diana spoke up. "Your friends aren't you, and frankly, I don't care what they do or don't do." Lacey turned to her mother, eyes wide. "You're taking his side? There are no sides here." Diana reached for Lacey's hand, but Lacey pulled away. "We're a family, or we're supposed to be." "He's not my family." Lacey glared at me. "He's just some guy you married." The words stung more than I expected. Diana's face went pale. "Is that really how you feel?" Diana asked quietly. Lacey's defiance wavered wavered for a moment, then she lifted her chin. Yes, I stood up, needing space, walked to the window, looked out at the frost-covered yard. Behind me, Diana continued. Henry has been nothing but good to you. He pays for your clothes, your school supplies, your activities. He drives you places, comes to your events when you let him. He bought you that phone you wanted so badly. Because he has to. Because he married you. Diana's voice turned sharp. He does it because he cares. Because he's been trying to be a father to you since day one, and you've thrown it in his face every single time. I turned back to see tears streaming down Lacey's face, but she still held that stubborn set to her jaw. I have a father, she whispered, who sees you twice a year and forgets your birthday half the time. Diana's own tears started falling. Henry has been here, every day, trying. Lacey shook her head violently. I don't want him here. I never asked for this. The room fell silent except for Lacey's ragged breathing. Diana looked devastated. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. After a long moment, I returned to my seat. You're right, you didn't ask for this. Neither did I. But this is where we are. Lacey glared at me through her tears. I grew up with nothing, I continued. My parents worked themselves to the bone just to keep food on the table. That jacket? It was the one nice thing in our entire house. My father wore it maybe 5 times in his whole life. Special occasions only. Lacey rolled her eyes, but I kept going. When he died, it became mine. Not because it was expensive, but because when I wore it, I felt connected to him, to my grandfather, to a whole line of men who struggled and sacrificed so their children could have better. Sob story, Lacey muttered. Number context. I leaned back. You've never wanted for anything, which is fine. Your mother and I work hard so you don't have to experience what I did. But somewhere along the way, you started believing you're entitled to everything without earning any of it. That's not— Let him finish, Diana interrupted. Lacey's mouth snapped shut, shocked by her mother's tone. You bullied that kid at school because his family couldn't afford designer clothes. You demanded double allowance for doing nothing. You sold my jacket because you were mad. Do you see the pattern? Lacey stared at her plate. You take and take and take, and when someone finally says no, you lash out. That ends now. Or what? A flicker of her usual defiance. You'll sell more of my stuff? We'll start over. I looked at Diana, who nodded. Clean slate, but with new rules. Lacey's eyes narrowed. What kind of rules? Diana took over. First, you're getting a job. Part-time, after school, or weekends. You want money? You'll earn it like everyone else. But second, I continued, you'll do chores here. Real ones. Laundry, dishes, cooking once a week, contributing to the household you live in. That's not fair. Third, Diana's voice stayed firm. You'll apologize to that boy you bullied. A real apology, in front of the class if necessary. Lacey's face went red. No way. Then you can forget about getting a new phone. I kept my tone matter of fact. Or keeping your current allowance, or going to Sarah's pool party next month. Mom! Lacey turned desperate eyes to Diana. These are our terms, Diana said. Non-negotiable. Lacey stood so fast her chair scraped against the floor. I hate you, both of you. She ran upstairs. Her door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Diana put her head in her hands. That went well. I reached over, rubbed her back. It's a start, is it? She hates me now too. She's 16. She'll hate us for a while. I tried for reassuring. But maybe she'll learn something. Diana lifted her head. What if she doesn't? What if I've ruined her? You haven't ruined her. She's just lost her way because I let her. Diana's voice turned bitter. Every time she pushed, I gave in. Every time you tried to set boundaries, I undermined you. I created this. We'll fix it together. Diana studied my face. After everything she's done to you, everything I've let her do, you still want to try? She's your daughter. That makes her my family, whether she accepts it or not. I squeezed Diana's hand. Besides, someone has to teach her about consequences before the real world does it for her. Diana managed a weak smile. The jacket. I'll help you try to track it down. Maybe whoever bought it, it's gone. The words hurt, but I'd accepted it. Even if we found the buyer, they wouldn't have to give it back. Lacey had no right to sell it, but proving that would be impossible. I'm so sorry. I know how much it meant to you. Things can be replaced. Time with family can't. I stood, started clearing plates. She'll come around or she won't, but at least we're finally on the same page. Diana helped me clean up. We worked in companionable silence, the kind that comes from years of marriage, the kind Lacey didn't understand yet. Around noon, we heard Lacey's door open, footsteps to the bathroom, water running, then back to her room, still hiding, but at least moving around. Diana made sandwiches, left one outside Lacey's door. An hour later, the plate was gone. Small progress. The afternoon dragged. Diana tried to distract herself with housework. I pretended to read, but kept thinking about my father's jacket, wondering who bought it, whether they'd appreciate its history or just see an old coat. My phone buzzed. Text from Diana's sister asking if we were still coming to Christmas dinner. I showed Diana. I forgot all about that. She rubbed her temples. What do we tell them? The truth. Family drama. They'll understand. Will Lacey even want to go? We'll ask her. Her choice. Diana nodded, went back to folding laundry. The normalcy of it felt strange after this morning's explosion. Around 5 that evening, I heard movement upstairs again. This time, drawers opening and closing, hangers scraping across the closet rod. Diana and I exchanged glances from the living room. Think she's packing? Diana asked quietly. Before I could answer, Lacey appeared at the top of the stairs with a duffel bag slung over her shoulder. She descended slowly, chin raised in defiance despite her red-rimmed eyes. Where are you going? Diana stood up from the couch. Dad's. Lacey didn't look at either of us. Already called him. He's picking me up in 20 minutes. Diana's face crumpled. Lacey, please. We need to work through this together. No, we don't. Lacey set her bag by the door. You chose him over me. Fine. I'll go where I'm actually wanted. I stayed seated, knowing my involvement would only escalate things. Diana moved toward her daughter, hands outstretched. That's not what happened. We're trying to help you. By taking my phone? By making me get a job? Lacey's voice rose. By humiliating me? By teaching you responsibility, Diana said firmly. Something I should have done years ago. Lacey laughed, harsh and bitter. Right, because Henry says so. A car honked outside. Through the window, I saw Lacey's father's BMW idling in our driveway. He didn't even bother coming to the door. Lacey grabbed her bag. Diana caught her arm. Please, just stay and talk to us. I did talk. You didn't listen. Lacey yanked free. Maybe Dad will. She left without another word. The door slammed behind her, leaving Diana and me in stunned silence. We watched through the window as she threw her bag in the back seat and climbed in. The BMW pulled away without either of them looking back. Diana sank onto the couch beside me, tears flowing freely now. I pulled her close, let her cry against my shoulder. She'll be back, I said, though I wasn't sure I believed it. Will she? Diana's voice was muffled against my shirt. What if he lets her stay? What if he doesn't make her follow our rules? We both knew the answer to that. Lacey's father had never enforced a rule rule in his life. That's partly why Diana had divorced him, his complete inability to parent beyond writing checks. The next 3 days passed in a blur of unanswered texts and ignored calls. Diana left voicemail after voicemail for both Lacey and her ex-husband. Neither responded. The silence felt like punishment, which I supposed was the point. On the 4th day, Diana's phone finally rang. Her ex-husband's name flashed on the screen. She answered immediately, putting it on speaker. "Is she okay?" Diana asked without preamble. "She's fine." His voice sounded tired. "But we need to talk. Can you come over, both of you?" Diana looked at me. I nodded. "We'll be there in 30 minutes. The drive to her ex's house took us across town to a newer development full of McMansions and perfect lawns. His house stood out even among those, 3 stories of brick and glass that screamed new money. He answered the door looking haggard. For someone who saw his daughter twice a year, 4 days had apparently been enough to wear him down. "She's upstairs," he said, leading us to his living room. "Won't come down. Won't eat much. Just stays in the guest room on her phone. Well, my old phone. I gave it to her when she showed up crying about hers being stolen." I bit my tongue. Of course he had. We sat on his white leather furniture that looked like it had never been used. Everything in the room seemed staged, like a magazine photo, rather than a home. "She told me what happened," he continued. "About the jacket, about the phone, about your ultimatum." "Did she tell you why those things happened?" Diana asked. He shifted uncomfortably. "She said Henry's been unfair to her, that you're taking his side over hers." "That's not," Diana started. "I know." He held up a hand. "I might not be around much, but I'm not blind. Lacey's difficult, always has been. I just figured it was teenage stuff." "It's beyond teenage stuff," I said. "She's heading down a dangerous path." He nodded slowly. "The school called me yesterday. Apparently she's been telling people she's living with me now because you two are abusive. They wanted to know if they should be concerned." Diana gasped. "She what?" "Don't worry." I set them straight, but it made me realize how far this has gone. He rubbed his face. "I can't handle her. I work 80-hour weeks. I travel constantly. I thought I could manage a few days, but what?" Diana leaned forward. "She's already manipulating me, guilt-tripping me about not being around, then asking for money. Lots of money. She wanted me to buy her a new phone, give her a credit card, increase her allowance to $200 a week." "Tell me you didn't," Diana said. "I didn't, but she didn't take it well." He stood, paced to the window. "She threatened to tell people I abandoned her, that I'm a deadbeat dad who only cares about money. That's emotional blackmail," I said. "I know, but what am I supposed to do? I don't know how to handle this." He turned back to us. "You two seem to have a plan, rules, structure. That's what she needs. She needs to come home," Diana said firmly. "I agree, but she won't listen to me." He looked defeated. "Maybe if we talk to her together?" We followed him upstairs to the guest room. He knocked softly. "Lacey, your mom and Henry are here. We need to talk." "Go away!" Her voice was muffled through the door. "Lacey, please," Diana tried. "Just hear us out." I said go away. "I'm not going back there." Her father looked at us helplessly. "She's been like this since yesterday. Won't even come out for meals." I stepped forward. "Lacey, you can hide in there as long as you want, but eventually you'll have to face reality. Your dad can't keep you here indefinitely. School starts again next week. You need your textbooks, your uniform, your laptop, all at our house." Silence from behind the door. "More importantly," I continued, "running away doesn't solve anything. It just delays the inevitable." The door flew open. Lacey stood there in wrinkled pajamas, hair a mess, eyes blazing. "The inevitable? You mean you controlling my life?" "I mean you learning to be a functioning adult," I replied calmly. "I'm 16. Exactly. In 2 years you'll be 18. Then what? Will you know how to hold a job, manage money, take responsibility for your actions? That's what college is for." "College?" I almost laughed. "You think professors will care if you don't feel like doing assignments? Think they'll accept I shouldn't have to as an excuse?" Lacey's face flushed. "Dad will pay for everything. Won't you, Dad?" We all turned to look at him. This was the moment. Would he cave like always, or finally show some backbone? He cleared his throat. "Actually, Lacey, I've been thinking about that. Your mother and Henry are right. You need to learn responsibility." Lacey's jaw dropped. "What? If you want me to pay for college, you'll need to show me you can handle it. That means following the rules your mother and Henry set, getting a job, doing chores, apologizing to that boy you bullied." "You're supposed to be on my side." Lacey's voice cracked. "I am on your side. That's why I'm saying this." He moved closer to her. "I've failed you, Lacey. I've thrown money at you instead of being a parent, but that stops now." Lacey backed into her room. "You're all against me. All of you. We're trying to help you," Diana said softly. "No, you're trying to control me, make me into some servant who does whatever you want. We're trying to prepare you for life," I said. "Real life, where actions have consequences and respect is earned, not demanded." Lacey grabbed her phone, her father's old one, and started furiously typing. "I'm telling everyone what you're doing to me, how you're ganging up on me. Someone will help me." "Who?" her father asked. "Your friends? Their parents? The authorities? Tell them what? That we want you to get a job and do chores?" Lacey's typing slowed. The reality was sinking in. Her usual tactics weren't working. She couldn't manipulate her way out of this. "I won't do it," she said finally. "You can't make me." "You're right," Diana said. "We can't force you, but we can enforce consequences. No phone, no allowance, no privileges. Your choice." "That's not a choice. That's blackmail. That's life," I said simply. Lacey looked between the three of us, searching for a crack in our united front. Finding none, she slammed the door in our faces. Her father sighed. "So what now?" "Now she comes home," Diana said, "whether she likes it or not." We went back downstairs to discuss logistics. Her father agreed to bring her back the next day, willing or not. He'd already missed too much work and couldn't afford more time off. "I'll pack her things tonight," he said. "Drive her over in the morning before my flight." "What if she refuses to get in the car?" Diana asked. "Then I'll cancel her credit card, the emergency one I gave her last year. Cut off her access to my Netflix, Spotify, everything else she uses." He looked embarrassed. "I should have done this years ago." We left with a plan in place. The drive home felt lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. For the first time in years, Diana and I were truly united with her ex on something. That night, we prepared for Lacey's return. Diana cleaned her room, washed her sheets, made everything welcoming despite the circumstances. I researched local part-time jobs for teenagers, printed out applications. "Think she'll actually fill these out?" Diana asked, looking at the stack. "Eventually, when she realizes we're serious." Diana sat on Lacey's bed, smoothing the comforter. "I keep thinking about what she said, that you're just some guy I married." She was angry. People say things, but she meant it. Diana looked up at me. "She's never accepted you, never even tried." I sat beside her. She was 11 when we got married, already set in her ways. It was never going to be easy. Other step-families make it work. Other step-families don't have Lacey. I tried for humor, got a weak smile in return. I should have handled things differently from the start. apart, set boundaries, enforced consequences. Instead, I felt so guilty about the divorce that I just gave in every time. You did what you thought was best. Did I? Or did I just do what was easiest? Diana picked at a thread on the comforter. Being the fun parent, the yes parent, leaving you to be the bad guy whenever limits needed to be set. We can't change the past, only move forward. Diana leaned against me. What if she never forgives us? What if this ruins any chance of a relationship? Then at least she'll be prepared for adulthood. That's our job, right? Not to be her friend, but to raise a functioning human being. When did you get so wise? Probably around the time I lost my jacket. The words came out more bitter than intended. Diana flinched. I'll make it up to you somehow. I promise. Just help me stay strong when she comes home tomorrow. That's all I need. We went to bed early, knowing the next day would be challenging. But for the first time in years, we felt like a team, united in purpose, even if that purpose was going to make us very unpopular with a certain 16-year-old. The doorbell rang at 8 the next morning. Diana and I were ready, coffee in hand, game faces on. Her ex stood on the porch with Lacey sulking behind him, her duffel bag at her feet. She's all yours, he said, looking exhausted. Good luck. He left without ceremony, practically running to his car. Lacey stood on the porch, refusing to come inside. Are you going to stand there all day? Diana asked. Maybe. Suit yourself. But it's supposed to rain later. We went back inside, leaving the door open. After a few minutes, Lacey grudgingly entered, dragging her bag. Your room's ready, Diana said. Fresh sheets and everything. Lacey headed for the stairs without a word. I stepped in her path. First, we need your phone. Dad's old one. Number. Then you can't go upstairs. Your choice. We stared at each other. A battle of wills. Finally, Lacey pulled the phone from her pocket and slammed it into my hand. Happy? Getting there. I pocketed the device. Your mother has job applications for you to fill out. We'll go over them at lunch. I'm not hungry. I didn't ask if you were hungry. I said we'll go over them at lunch. Lacey pushed past me and stomped upstairs. Her door slammed, but with less force than before. Progress, maybe. The rest of the morning passed quietly. Diana and I worked from home, keeping an ear out for any escape attempts. Around 11, we heard Lacey's shower running. At least she was maintaining basic hygiene. Noon arrived. Diana called up the stairs. Lacey, lunch. No response. Diana looked at me. I nodded. If you're not down in 5 minutes, we're coming up. 4 minutes and 50 seconds later, Lacey appeared. She changed clothes, even brushed her hair. Small victories. She sat at the table, arms crossed, glaring at the sandwich Diana placed in front of her. Eat, Diana said. Then we'll talk about jobs. I'm not getting a job. Then you're not getting an allowance, or a new phone, or anything else beyond basic necessities. I spread the applications across the table. The coffee shop is hiring. So is the bookstore. The pet store needs weekend help. I don't know how to do any of those things. That's why they're called entry-level positions. They'll train you. Lacey picked at her sandwich. This is child abuse. No, this is parenting. Diana's voice stayed calm. Something we should have done better from the start. So you admit you're bad parents. I admit I made mistakes, Diana said. But we're correcting them now. By forcing me to work, by taking my phone, by teaching you the value of money, the importance of respect, the reality of consequences. I tapped the applications. Choose one by dinner, or I'll choose for you. You can't make me work. No, but I can make your life very uncomfortable until you do. I leaned back. No Wi-Fi password, no rides anywhere, no money for anything. Your choice. Lacey's face cycled through emotions. Anger, disbelief, frustration, and finally, a hint of resignation. This is so unfair. Life's unfair, I said. My father's jacket is gone forever because you decided to be spiteful. That's unfair. But we move forward anyway. Are you ever going to let that go? Are you ever going to truly understand what you did? Silence stretched between us. Finally, Lacey grabbed the coffee shop application. Fine, but I'm not apologizing to that kid at school. Then you're not getting a new phone, Diana said simply. I need a phone for safety. You need to learn humility more than you need Instagram. Lacey crumpled the application. I hate this. I hate both of you. That's your right, I said. But hatred doesn't change the rules. She grabbed a new application, the bookstore, and smoothed it out. Started filling in her name with angry strokes. Diana and I exchanged glances. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The next 2 weeks tested everyone's resolve. Lacey applied to 3 places, got interviews at 2. She dressed appropriately only after Diana threatened to donate all her designer clothes to charity. She answered questions sullenly but adequately. The bookstore hired her for weekend shifts. Her first day, she tried to refuse to go. I disconnected the Wi-Fi router and took it to work with me. By the time I got home, she'd completed her shift. How was it? Diana asked at dinner. Horrible. They made me shelve books for 4 hours. My feet hurt. Welcome to the working world, I said. For minimum wage. It's not even worth it. Then budget better with your allowance. What allowance? You took that away. We suspended it. Do your chores this week, and we'll discuss reinstating a portion. Lacey stabbed at her pasta. What chores? Diana produced a list. Dishes every other night. Your own laundry. Vacuum the living room and your bedroom weekly. Clean your bathroom. That's too much. That's life. The first week, we had to remind, cajole, and threaten. But slowly, grudgingly, Lacey began completing tasks. Not well. Dishes sometimes needed rewashing. Vacuuming was haphazard, but she did them. The breakthrough came 3 weeks later. I was working in my home office when Lacey knocked on the door. A first. What's up? I asked, surprised. She stood in the doorway, fidgeting. I need to ask you something. Okay, the bookstore wants me to work extra hours next weekend. There's some author event and they need help, but it's the same day as Sarah's party. And she took a breath. I was wondering if I could work the morning shift and still make the party, but I'd need a ride to both. What about your mother? She has that conference, remember? I did remember. Diana would be gone the entire weekend. So you're asking me for help? Lacey's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Yes. Even though I'm just some guy your mom married? She flinched. I shouldn't have said that. No, you shouldn't have. I leaned back in my chair, but I appreciate you acknowledging it. So will you help me or not? I'll drive you, on one condition. Her shoulders slumped. What now? You apologize to that boy at school this week, but that's the deal. Take it or leave it. Lacey stood there for a long moment, internal struggle clear on her face. Finally, she nodded. Fine, I'll do it. Good. Let me know when, and I'll email your teacher to confirm it happened. You don't trust me? Have you given me reason to? Another flinch. I guess not. She turned to leave, then paused. Henry? Yeah? I'm sorry about your jacket. Really, I know it meant a lot to you. Before I could respond, she was gone, but it was progress. Real progress. 2 days later, Diana forwarded me an email from Lacey's teacher. She'd apologized to the boy publicly, sincerely, even offered to help him with a project to make amends. That weekend, I drove her to work, then to Sarah's party. In the car, she was quiet, but not sullen. When I I picked her up from the party, she actually said thank you. How was it? I asked. Fine. Everyone wanted to know why I've been working. I told them I was saving for something special. Are you? She shrugged. Maybe. The jacket. Do you remember where Mom said I sold it? My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Why? I was thinking, maybe I could track down who bought it, try to buy it back. With what money? My job money. It might take a while, but she trailed off. That's very thoughtful, Lacey. It's the least I can do. After everything. We drove in silence for a bit. Then she spoke again. I still think the rules are stupid and unfair, but I get it. Kind of. Why you're doing this. Oh? Sarah's older sister is in college. She was at the party, telling stories. Her roommate doesn't know how to do laundry. Like at all. Turned all her white clothes pink. Can't cook anything but microwave meals. It sounded pathetic. It is pathetic. I don't want to be like that. Then you won't be. She nodded, looking out the window. I still don't like you very much. That's honest. But maybe I don't hate you either. Coming from Lacey, it felt like a declaration of love. The next month brought unexpected challenges. Lacey kept working at the bookstore, complaining less each week. She'd started recognizing regular customers, even recommending books occasionally. Diana and I watched this transformation cautiously, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It dropped on a Tuesday afternoon. I got home from work to find Diana pacing the living room, phone pressed to her ear. She waved me over frantically. Yes, I understand. We'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up, face pale. Lacey got into a fight at school. My stomach dropped. Physical? Verbal, but apparently it was bad. The principal wants us there immediately. We drove in tense silence. Diana's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I ran through possibilities in my head, each worse than the last. The principal's office felt smaller than I remembered from Lacey's previous incidents. Lacey sat in a chair, arms crossed, jaw set in that familiar stubborn line. Across from her sat a girl I didn't recognize, tears streaming down her face. Both sets of parents flanked their daughters. The principal, Mrs. Chen, looked exhausted. Thank you for coming. We have a situation that needs immediate addressing. What happened? Diana asked. Mrs. Chen glanced between the families. According to witnesses, Lacey confronted Madison here about some comments Madison made regarding Lacey's new job. The other mother bristled. Madison was just making conversation. She called me pathetic, Lacey burst out. Said only losers work retail. Madison's father shifted uncomfortably. That's exactly what she said, Lacey continued. In front of everyone at lunch, laughing about how I went from designer everything to folding other people's clothes. I studied Lacey. This wasn't her usual entitled rage. This was different, defensive. Mrs. Chen held up a hand. Lacey's response was inappropriate. She made several harsh comments about Madison's academic performance and other personal matters. She failed 3 classes last semester, Lacey said. But sure, I'm the loser for having a job. Lacey, Diana warned. No, Mom. I'm tired of this. Lacey turned to Madison. You've been making snide comments for weeks. About my job, about not having a phone, about not going to every single party anymore. I finally said something back, and suddenly, I'm the bad guy? Madison's mother stood. This is exactly the bullying behavior we've come to expect from your daughter. The word hung in the air. Bullying. The very thing Lacey had done to that boy months ago. I leaned forward. Mrs. Chen, what exactly did Lacey say? The principal consulted her notes. She told Madison that at least she was learning real skills instead of coasting on her parents' money. She mentioned Madison's tutors, her college consultant, and suggested Madison wouldn't last a day in the real world. That's not bullying, I said quietly. That's defending herself. Everyone turned to stare at me. Even Lacey looked shocked. Mr. Peterson, Mrs. Chen began. No, let me finish. Lacey was wrong to be harsh. She should have handled it better. But if Madison was mocking her for working, for trying to better herself, then this isn't bullying. It's standing up for herself. Diana touched my arm. Henry, Lacey has made huge changes these past months. She's working, contributing at home, taking responsibility for her actions. If other students are mocking her for that growth, then maybe we're focusing on the wrong problem here. Madison's father scoffed. You're defending your daughter's cruelty because someone made a joke? Was it a joke? I looked at Madison. Were you joking when you called her pathetic? Madison squirmed, suddenly finding the floor fascinating. Mrs. Chen cleared her throat. Regardless of provocation, we don't tolerate verbal altercations. Both girls will serve detention. I also think peer mediation might help. Fine, Diana said before anyone could argue. Lacey will attend. We left the office in awkward silence. In the parking lot, Madison's parents shepherded their daughter away with dirty looks. Lacey trudged behind us to the car. Once inside, Diana turned to face the back seat. You want to explain what really happened? Lacey slumped against the window. I told you. She's been making comments for weeks. Today she said I smelled like old books and minimum wage. Everyone laughed. So you attacked her academics? Diana asked. I pointed out the truth. She has tutors for every subject. Her parents hired someone to write her college essays. But I'm the loser? I caught Lacey's eye in the rearview mirror. You could have walked away. Like I walked away from that boy I bullied? The car fell silent. Diana and I exchanged glances. That's different, Diana said carefully. Is it? I made fun of him for being poor. Madison made fun of me for working. Both are wrong. Lacey's voice cracked. I apologized to him. Think Madison will apologize to me? She had a point. An uncomfortable one. Probably not, I admitted. But you still shouldn't have said those things. I know. Lacey picked at a thread on her backpack. I'm trying so hard. Following your rules, working every weekend, doing chores, and they all act like I'm some kind of failure now. They're not your real friends then, Diana said softly. Yeah, I'm figuring that out. We drove home in thoughtful silence. Lacey headed straight to her room, but without the usual door slam. Progress came in small doses. That evening, while Diana cooked dinner, I knocked on Lacey's door. Come in. She was at her desk, homework spread out. Another change from the girl who used to claim homework was optional. Need help? I offered. It's just algebra. I've got it. I sat on her bed anyway. Want to talk about today? Not really. Fair enough. I stood to leave. Henry? I paused at the door. Thanks for defending me in there. You didn't have to. You were defending yourself. That's worth supporting. She turned back to her homework, but I caught the small smile. Dinner was quieter than usual. Lacey pushed food around her plate, clearly still processing the day. Diana kept shooting her worried glances. I have a shift Saturday, Lacey said suddenly. 4 hours. They want me to help with inventory. That's good, Diana encouraged. Shows they trust you, I guess. Lacey took a small bite. One of the regular customers asked if I could recommend something for her grandson. I suggested this fantasy series he might like. Did she buy it? I asked. Yeah. Said she'd come back and let me know if he enjoyed it. Lacey almost smiled. It was kind of nice, being helpful. That's what jobs are really about, I said. Not just the paycheck, but contributing something. Lacey nodded slowly. Madison Madison wouldn't understand that. Madison's loss, Diana said firmly. After dinner, Lacey actually cleared the table without being asked. She loaded the dishwasher while Diana and I watched from the living room, trying not to make a big deal of it. She's changing, Diana whispered. Slowly, I agreed. But yeah, the next few weeks passed without major incident. Lacey served her detention, attended peer mediation with Madison. They reached a cold truce, not friends, but no longer actively hostile. More importantly, Lacey kept working, kept doing chores, even started cooking dinner once a week as promised. Usually just pasta or basic chicken, but she tried. One evening, I found her on her laptop at the kitchen table, brow furrowed in concentration. Homework? I asked. Research. She turned the screen toward me. An eBay listing showed a vintage leather and fur jacket. Not mine, but similar. I've been tracking these, trying to find yours. My throat tightened. Lacey, you don't have to. I want to. I know it won't be the same, but maybe. She shrugged. I've saved almost $300. Not enough yet, but I'm getting there. That's your money. You earned it. And I want to use it to fix what I broke. She met my eyes. I can't get your actual jacket back, but I can try to make it right. I sat down across from her. You're already making it right. Everything you're doing, the changes you're making, that matters more than any jacket. But it was your father's. And someday, when you have kids, you'll understand why seeing you grow means more than any heirloom. Lacey's eyes widened. That's really sappy, Henry. I laughed. Yeah, well, don't tell anyone. She cracked a smile. Your secret's safe. Diana appeared in the doorway. What are you two plotting? Nothing, we said in unison, then looked at each other in surprise. Right, very convincing. Diana joined us at the table. Lacey, don't forget you have that school thing tomorrow. Career day, Lacey groaned. So boring. Actually, I said, an idea forming. What if you talked about your job? Both Diana and Lacey stared at me. Think about it, I continued. How many of your classmates have real work experience? You could talk about customer service, inventory management, cash handling, real skills. They'd laugh at me, Lacey protested. Or they'd realize you're ahead of the curve. Diana warmed to the idea. You're getting experience they won't have until college or later. Lacey chewed her lip. Mrs. Patterson did say we could present about any career-related topic. There you go, I encouraged. Show Madison and the others that working isn't something to be ashamed of. I'll think about it. The next morning, Lacey came downstairs dressed nicer than usual. She'd even done her hair. Decided to present? Diana asked hopefully. Maybe. I made some notes. Lacey grabbed toast and headed for the door. Don't make a big deal of it. But that afternoon, she came home practically glowing. How'd it go? I asked casually. Good. Really good. She dropped her backpack and joined me in the living room. I talked about customer service skills and how they apply everywhere. Mrs. Patterson said it was one of the most practical presentations. That's wonderful, Diana called from the kitchen. And get this, 2 kids asked me about applying at the bookstore. Like, genuinely interested. Lacey shook her head in amazement. 6 months ago, I would have died before admitting I worked retail. What changed? I asked. Lacey considered. I did, I guess. It's not embarrassing anymore. It's just what I do, part of who I am now. Growth looks good on you, I said. Ugh, more sappiness. But she was smiling. I'm going to do homework. She headed upstairs, leaving Diana and me alone. Did that really just happen? Diana asked. Our daughter being proud of working? Your daughter, I corrected. But yeah, small miracles. Diana curled up beside me. She called you Henry earlier, not him or my mom's husband. Your actual name. I'd noticed too. Another tiny step forward. That weekend, Lacey worked her Saturday shift without complaint. When I picked her up, she was chatting with a coworker, both laughing about something. Good day? I asked as she got in the car. Busy. This lady wanted a specific book, but could only remember it had a blue cover. Lacey rolled her eyes. Do you know how many books have blue covers? All of them? Basically. But we found it eventually. She was so happy. Lacey fastened her seatbelt. Can we stop by the mall on the way home? What for? I want to look at something. Won't take long. Curious, I agreed. She led me to a vintage clothing store I'd never noticed before. They sometimes get old jackets, she explained, browsing the racks. I check whenever I can. We looked through dusty leather jackets and moth-eaten furs. Nothing like my father's jacket, but I appreciated the effort. This is hopeless, Lacey sighed after 20 minutes. It's not hopeless. It's thoughtful. I squeezed her shoulder. Come on, let's get home before your mom wonders where we are. As we walked back to the car, Lacey suddenly stopped. Henry, what was your dad like? The question caught me off guard. Why do you ask? I don't know. You talk about the jacket, about growing up poor, but not about him specifically. I thought for a moment. He was quiet, worked construction until his back gave out, never complained, even when things were really tough. He showed love through actions, not words. Like making sure you had food and shelter? Exactly. That jacket was the one extravagance he allowed himself. Wearing it made him feel important, I think. Successful. Lacey nodded slowly. And I took that from you. That connection. You took the jacket. The connection's still there. I tapped my chest. In here. But having the jacket helped. Yeah, I admitted. It did. We walked in comfortable silence to the car. As I started the engine, Lacey spoke again. My dad, my biological dad, he gives me stuff instead of time. Expensive stuff, but empty, you know? I know. I used to think that was love. The gifts, the money, the lack of rules. She stared out the window. But it's not, is it? It's just easier than actually parenting. Sometimes people show love the only way they know how, I said carefully. Doesn't make it right or wrong, just different. But you and mom, making me work, setting rules, that's harder for you than just giving in. Much harder, I confirmed. So why do it? I pulled into our driveway thinking, because watching you become a responsible, capable adult matters more than being liked. Lacey unbuckled her seatbelt, but didn't get out. I'm starting to understand that, finally. Good. Only took 6 months of fighting. She laughed. A real laugh. I'm stubborn. I noticed. We headed inside to find Diana cooking dinner. The smell of garlic and herbs filled the kitchen. Perfect timing, she said. Lacey, can you set the table? Without complaint, Lacey grabbed plates and silverware. I watched her work, remembering the girl who thought chores were beneath her. During dinner, Lacey told Diana about career day, the vintage store visit, even her conversation with her coworker. Diana listened with poorly concealed delight at this chatty version of her daughter. Oh, Lacey said suddenly. I might need to switch shifts next weekend. There's this thing at school. What thing? Diana asked. Lacey pushed pasta around her plate. Community service project for National Honor Society. I nearly choked on my water. You joined NHS? Not yet, but if I do this project and keep my grades up, she shrugged. Might look good for college. Diana beamed. That's wonderful. Of course you can switch shifts. I already asked my manager. She said it's fine as long as I find coverage. Lacey glanced at me. Shows responsibility, right? Right, I agreed, still processing this development. After dinner, as Lacey loaded the dishwasher, Diana pulled me aside. NHS? College planning? Who is this kid? I don't know. know, but I like her. I watched Lacey work. Think it'll stick? I hope so. Later that evening, I was paying bills when Lacey knocked on my office door. Got a minute? Sure. I minimized the spreadsheet. What's up? She entered carrying a manila folder. I wanted to show you something. She pulled out a bank statement. My savings from work. The balance showed $427.83. That's impressive, I said. You've been saving most of your paychecks. Yeah, I figured out I don't actually need much, especially without a phone to buy apps and stuff for. She shifted nervously. I found a jacket online. Not yours, but really similar. Same era, same style. It's $600. Lacey, just listen, please. She pulled out a printed listing. The seller's local. I messaged them. They'd hold it for 2 weeks if I put down a deposit. I studied the listing. It was remarkably similar to my father's jacket, though the fur was darker and the leather more worn. I'll have enough in 3 more weeks, Lacey continued. 4 shifts plus my reinstated allowance. I did the math. This is your money, I reminded her. You should save it for things you want. This is what I want. Her voice was firm. I can't undo what I did, but I can try to make amends. I looked at this determined young woman who'd replaced the spoiled girl from 6 months ago. Okay? Her eyes widened. Really? If this is important to you, then okay. But on one condition. Her shoulders tensed. What? We go look at it together. Make sure it's worth the money. Deal? Deal. She smiled, then surprised me by stepping forward for an awkward hug. Thanks, Henry. She left before I could respond, folder tucked under her arm. I sat back in my chair, marveling at the change. My phone buzzed. Diana texting from downstairs. Did she just hug you? I typed back. Miracles happen. The next 2 weeks flew by. Lacey worked extra shifts, volunteered for the NHS project, kept up with homework. She even helped Diana prepare for her conference presentation without being asked. Finally, the day arrived to view the jacket. Lacey was up early, dressed and ready before I'd finished my coffee. Nervous? I asked, as we drove to the seller's house. Anxious. What if it's not right? What if you hate it? Then we keep looking. I glanced at her. This isn't a test, Lacey. You've already proven yourself. She relaxed slightly. I just want to fix this. You already have. This is extra credit. The seller lived in an older neighborhood across town. An elderly woman answered the door, smiling warmly. You must be Lacey. I'm Mrs. Kowalski. Come in. Come in. She led us to a back room filled with vintage clothing and accessories. The jacket hung on a special rack, protected by a garment bag. This was my father's, Mrs. Kowalski explained, unzipping the bag. He brought it from Poland after the war, but none of my children want it, and I'd rather it go to someone who appreciates history. The jacket was beautiful, similar cut to my father's, with thick fur collar and sturdy leather worn soft with age. A few repairs were visible, but they added character. Try it on, Lacey urged. I slipped it on. It fit well, perhaps a bit looser than my father's. The weight felt familiar, comforting. It suits you, Mrs. Kowalski said. Your daughter has good taste. I caught Lacey's eye in the mirror. She didn't correct the assumption, just smiled. We'll take it, she said firmly. As Lacey counted out cash, mostly 20s and 10s from her paychecks, Mrs. Kowalski wrapped the jacket carefully. Your father raised a good daughter, she told me quietly. Not many teenagers would do this. No, I agreed, watching Lacey reverently handle the jacket. They wouldn't. In the car, Lacey held the garment bag like precious cargo. It's not the same, I know, but maybe it's perfect, I interrupted. Thank you. She ducked her head, pleased. Want to wear it to the Christmas market? They open next week. You want to go to the Christmas market? Maybe, if you wouldn't mind company. I wouldn't mind at all. We drove home to find Diana in the kitchen, stress baking before her conference. Flour dusted every surface. How'd it go? She asked, noticing the garment bag. I modeled the jacket. Diana's eyes misted. Oh, Henry, it's wonderful. She hugged Lacey. You did good, sweetheart. It's not the same jacket, Lacey said quickly. No, Diana agreed. It's better, because it represents growth, change, family. Okay, too sappy now, Lacey declared, but she was smiling. I'm going to work on my NHS essay. She headed upstairs, leaving Diana and me surrounded by cooling cookies. She called herself our daughter, Diana said quietly. At the seller's house, the woman assumed, and Lacey didn't correct her. I noticed. That's huge, Henry. Huge. I hung the jacket carefully in the hall closet, right where my father's had lived. Different jacket, different story, but somehow it felt right. That evening at dinner, Lacey chattered about work, school, her NHS project. Diana and I exchanged amused glances over her head. This talkative, engaged teenager bore little resemblance to the sullen girl from 6 months ago. Oh, Lacey said suddenly. Sarah asked if I could come to her birthday thing next month. I said I'd have to check my work schedule first. Responsible, I noted. Right? She was shocked. Said I've changed. Lacey considered this. I guess I have. Change can be good, Diana offered. Yeah, it's weird though. Some friends don't like the new me. They say I'm boring now. Are you? I asked. Maybe, but boring in a good way. Like, I don't start drama anymore. I just work, study. Normal stuff. Normal is underrated, Diana said. After dinner, while Lacey did homework and Diana prepped for her conference, I sat in the living room wearing my new jacket. It smelled of age and cedar, someone else's history. But it was mine now, gifted by a stepdaughter who'd finally learned the value of both money and sentiment. My phone buzzed. A text from Lacey. Jacket looks good on you. Still want company at the Christmas market? I typed back, absolutely. Through the ceiling, I heard her laugh. A real, genuine laugh. The sound of a teenager who'd found her way from entitlement to empathy, from taking to giving, from resentment to something approaching acceptance. The jacket wasn't my father's. But somehow, sitting there in the warmth of our perfectly imperfect blended family, that didn't matter anymore. What mattered was progress, growth. The slow, sometimes painful journey from, you're not my dad, to want company at the Christmas market. Small steps, but in the right direction.